The I Love Lucy cast hated him more than anyone. William Frawley was born William Clement Frawley on February 26, 1887, in Burlington, Iowa, was an iconic American actor whose enduring legacy is closely tied to his portrayal of Fred Mertz in the beloved 1950s television sitcom I Love Lucy. Despite a career that spanned vaudeville, film, and television, it was his unforgettable turn as the curmudgeonly but lovable landlord on I Love Lucy that cemented his place in entertainment history. His journey from humble beginnings in the Midwest to becoming a fixture of American television is a remarkable story of perseverance, talent, and a tenacity that defined his off-screen persona as much as his characters. Frawley's early years were far removed from the glamorous world of Hollywood. Raised in a working-class, Irish Catholic family, he grew up with 4 brothers and a strong sense of responsibility from a young age. His interest in show business began early, though it was not immediately encouraged by his strict religious upbringing. He briefly worked in clerical positions, including a stint as a stenographer for the Union Pacific Railroad, but the call of the stage was irresistible. After joining a local theater company, Frawley honed his comedic timing and developed a persona that was well suited for vaudeville, the dominant form of American entertainment at the time. In 1914, Frawley made his first major step into professional entertainment by forming a vaudeville act with his first wife, Edna Louise Broad. Together, they toured the country as Frawley and Louise, a song and dance duo that saw moderate success. However, their marriage and professional partnership ended in divorce in the late 1920s, and Frawley continued performing solo. Vaudeville provided him with a steady career, but it was his transition to film that opened the door to wider fame. By the 1930s, he had appeared in numerous supporting roles in Hollywood films, often cast as gruff but endearing characters in comedies, musicals, and dramas. Though Frawley never achieved the leading man status that some of his contemporaries enjoyed, he carved out a niche as a reliable character actor. His ability to deliver both humor and pathos made him a valuable asset in films like Miracle on 34th Street, 1947, where he played a key supporting role as a political advisor. His work in film was prolific, but like many actors of his generation, Frawley's career faced challenges as the movie industry evolved. By the late 1940s, his film roles had begun to dwindle, and he found himself seeking new opportunities. The turning point in Frawley's career came in 1951, when he was cast as Fred Mertz, the cantankerous but lovable landlord and sidekick to Lucille Ball and Daisy Arnaz characters in I Love Lucy. The role of Fred Mertz was a perfect fit for Frawley's natural persona, grumpy, quick-witted, and often at odds with his on-screen wife, Ethel, played by Vivian Vance. His chemistry with the rest of the cast was undeniable, and the show quickly became a massive hit, making Frawley a household name. Fred Mertz became one of television's most memorable characters, and Frawley's performance is still revered for its impeccable comedic timing and warmth beneath the gruff exterior. Frawley brought a depth to the character that made Fred Mertz much more than just comic relief. Despite his sometimes crusty demeanor, Fred had a heart of gold, and Frawley's portrayal helped make him one of the most beloved supporting characters in TV history. His deadpan delivery and sharp wit were essential to the dynamic of the show, especially in his often bickering relationship with Vivian Vance's Ethel Mertz. Their on-screen spats became a hallmark of I Love Lucy's humor. However, Frawley's behind-the-scenes relationship with Vance was far from amicable. It is well known that the two had a notoriously contentious relationship off-camera, with Vance reportedly resenting the fact that she was cast as the wife of someone significantly older than her in real life. Frawley, on his part, was not shy about expressing his dislike for Vance either. Despite their personal animosity, both actors remained consummate professionals, never letting their off-screen tensions affect their performances. Their strained relationship perhaps added an extra layer of believability to the on-screen bickering between Fred and Ethel, enhancing the comedic effect. William Frawley, best known for his role as Fred Mertz on the iconic sitcom I Love Lucy, was a veteran character actor with a long career in film and television. Despite his considerable acting chops and his contribution to the success of the show, Frawley was reportedly one of the least liked members of the cast. His gruff personality, frequent clashes with co-stars, and struggles with alcoholism created a tense atmosphere on set, making him a difficult person to work with. His friction with the rest of the cast was well documented, leading to stories of animosity that have persisted long after his death. One of the primary sources of tension stemmed from Frawley's reputation for being a heavy drinker. By the time I Love Lucy began in 1951, Frawley had already established a career in Hollywood but was known more for his off-screen behavior than his on-screen talents. His drinking habits became a significant issue on set, as Frawley was often late to work or appeared hungover, which caused delays and frustrated the rest of the cast and crew. This lack of professionalism was a constant point of contention, particularly with Lucille Ball, the star of the show, and Desi Arnaz, her husband and co-star, who also produced the series. Arnaz reportedly had to threaten Frawley with termination if his drinking caused too many problems. In a notorious contract clause, Arnaz ensured that Frawley would be fired immediately if he ever showed up to work intoxicated. Frawley's personality didn't help matters either. Known for his cantankerous and abrasive demeanor, Frawley was not one to mince words, and he frequently clashed with his co-stars. He had a particularly tense relationship with his on-screen wife, Vivian Vance, who played Ethel Mertz. Vance reportedly couldn't stand Frawley and objected to the idea that the much older Frawley was supposed to be her husband. Their personal dislike for each other spilled over into their on-screen dynamic, creating tension between the two that, ironically, may have contributed to their portrayal of the constantly bickering Mertzes. While their animosity added a layer of authenticity to their performances, it also made working together behind the scenes incredibly difficult. Vance was vocal about her displeasure with Frawley, and their mutual dislike became common knowledge on set. The age difference between Frawley and Vance also exacerbated the tension. Frawley was 22 years older than Vance, and she often commented that it was unrealistic for her to be cast as his wife. This age gap was a source of mockery and bitterness, especially on Vance's part, who resented being paired with Frawley. While their professional chemistry was undeniable, with Fred and Ethel Mertz becoming one of television's most iconic couples, the off-screen relationship was anything but harmonious. Vance reportedly went out of her way to avoid Frawley whenever possible, and the two never spoke once I Love Lucy ended. In addition to his problems with Vance, Frawley's relationship with Lucille Ball was also rocky. Although Ball appreciated his talent and experience as an actor, she had little tolerance for his unprofessional behavior. Ball was known for running a tight ship on set, and Frawley's tardiness and alcohol-fueled antics were a constant source of frustration for her. She reportedly found it difficult to deal with his unpredictable nature, and while she never had the same outright disdain for him that Vance did, their relationship was far from warm. Ball was the consummate professional, and Frawley's erratic behavior stood in stark contrast to her expectations of punctuality and discipline on set. Despite the tension with his co-stars, Frawley managed to maintain his role on I Love Lucy throughout its run from 1951 to 1957, and even continued in the spin-off series The Lucy-Dacey Comedy Hour. His portrayal of Fred Mertz was beloved by audiences, and many of the show's funniest moments were a result of his impeccable comic timing. However, his off-screen behavior and poor relationships with the rest of the cast left a sour taste in the mouths of those who worked with him. While Fred Mertz was a lovable curmudgeon, the real William Frawley was far less endearing to those who had to endure his presence behind the scenes. Frawley's difficult personality continued to affect his career even after I Love Lucy. He later landed a role on My Three Sons as Bub O'Casey, but his declining health and ongoing issues with alcohol made him a liability. Frawley's contract was not renewed after a few seasons, and he passed away in 1966. Despite his personal flaws and the tumultuous relationships with his co-stars, William Frawley remains an indelible part of television history. His portrayal of Fred Mertz has become iconic, and while he may not have been well liked by his colleagues, his contribution to one of the most beloved shows of all time cannot be denied. Frawley's tenure on I Love Lucy lasted from 1951 until the show's conclusion in 1957. The role revitalized his career and brought him lasting fame, but it also pigeonholed him to some extent. After I Love Lucy, Frawley continued to work in television, notably taking on a regular role in My Three Sons from 1960 until 1965. In this series, he played Bub O'Casey, another curmudgeonly but endearing character, this time as the grandfather figure in a family comedy. However, declining health led to his departure from the show in 1965, and William Demarest took over his role. Frawley's final years were marked by health issues, largely stemming from his age and lifestyle. He suffered from heart problems and died of a heart attack on March 3, 1966, at the age of 79. Despite the ups and downs of his life, William Frawley left behind an indelible mark on the entertainment world. His portrayal of Fred Mertz remains one of television's most iconic performances, and he is still remembered fondly by fans of classic TV.